Andrew?
Yes.
Hi, I'm having a technical issue.
Oh no, let's go. Let's talk about it.
I thought Jill was going to get on.
Yeah.
I
Yep.
am.
There you go.
Okay.
Okay, I was muted,
Yeah.
Adrian. I was muted by Andrew. So,
There you go.
okay, so I'm Jill Bourdet. I'm a member of the Weiss board, and I have known Adrian Leeds for a long time, from when she first came to Weiss. And I've watched over the years as she's grown this amazing real estate business. And I just thought it would be a great idea to introduce her to you all and to ask her to talk about what's going on now in the real estate business. So I'm happy to present Adrian Leeds.
Well, and I'm happy to be here, but I'm suddenly having a technical glitch. I've lost my screen.
Muted. No?
You've lost your screen.
I've lost my screen. Yeah.
Okay.
Is it back?
We can see you. Yes. You're
okay. What I cannot. Okay, I'm terribly sorry. What I can't see is the chat window, but I can go ahead and make the presentation.
Okay.
And then people can, I guess I hope everyone knows how to use Zoom. And if you don't know how to use Zoom, there should be a small button for chat on the bottom, and you can put your questions in to someone individually, or you can put your questions into everyone. And I'm going to answer questions at the end of the presentation. So Jill, did you want to introduce me first and the presentation?
Jill, to introduce you.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and start. I'm terribly sorry. So my name is Adrian Leeds, and I want to welcome everyone to this webinar that is sponsored by Weiss. I'd like to particularly thank Weiss for making this possible. And this is one of a series of things that they're doing. I was hoping Jill would tell you more about it, but I know that on their website, there's plenty of information about it. This is titled Money and Real Estate in the Time of Coronavirus, because I think, we're all really concerned about how this is going to affect our lives, our futures, and real estate in Paris and in France. Let's see, my slideshow's not working. Oh, I think I'm back. No.
We can see the first page.
Okay, I've got it. I've got it. Okay, so let me just tell you a little bit about who we are. We are French property consultants, and let me just say one thing. If you have your mic or your video on, if you would mind turning it off. I see a few people there. It's best if you just turn off your video and your audio. Okay, thank you very much. So we are primarily property consultants. We are a licensed real estate agency in France. I have a partner. His name is Karsten Sprott. He's pictured here. I say we are consultants because our primary client is North American, Australian, New Zealand, Anglophones, but we think of ourselves as providing French property the American way. And we provide a whole list of services, including consultation and search, property sales and listings. We can assist someone in selling or purchasing a property that they have already found on their own. We do appraisals, we offer financing resources, we have associates who do renovation and decoration, and we also provide property management. I'd like to say, however, that we really are more than property, because I have been helping people move to France, realize their dream since about 2001. And I do consultations where I actually help people strategize how they're going to make this transition over and what's the best method to do that and how property is going to fit into that plan. So I feel that we're actually way more than just property. Just to give you a little bit of background, I came to Paris in 1994. on a 1-year kind of a sabbatical, not from education or anything like that, but just to take a year off, and never left. And I know that there are lots and lots of people out there like me who have done something like that. In the very beginning, I joined Weiss, and I was very privileged. They asked me to become their public relations director, and I was running their French-English conversation group. And I met a lot of people, and I met a lot of people in the community. And the truth is that if it weren't for Weiss, I would not be here today doing what I do, because they were the groundwork that enabled me to find survival, because I didn't actually have the right to work for the first 10 years of renewing my carte de séjour. In the interim, I was fortunate enough to get a position as the director of the Paris office for International Living. And International Living, which is a very broad publication, primarily for retirees, their readers wanted someone to help them buy property in France. And that's how it really started. A few years later, I opened my own company in 2004, and you see the rest is history. But I really do have Weiss to thank, and I think it's a wonderful organization, and that if you're not already a member, you should be. So why we even really exist? We exist because primarily there's no multiple listing service in France. If you don't know about the multiple listing service, which is something that exists in the United States, it means that all property goes onto the market for sale at the same time. That means that all agents and agencies have access to that property at the same time. So in essence, the real estate agents really work more for the buyer than they do the seller, because they have access to everything and they assume they're going to share their commissions. That is not true in France. There is no multiple listing service. That means that every agency has its own pocket of properties that they want to sell. The agents work for the seller, not the buyer. They will do almost anything or say almost anything to sell a property. That doesn't mean that they're going to necessarily lie. There are lots of wonderful, trustworthy agents out there, but their goal is to sell the property that is listed with them, period. So they don't really care about you. You as a foreign buyer who isn't familiar with the process or the laws, maybe not as proficient in the language, you're dealing in currency issues, cultural issues, every single thing that's different, the agents really don't want to deal with you either. So that's why we act as a liaison, and sort of, I think of us as insurance, so that we can ensure that all the due diligence is done, that we protect you from beginning to end, because you've hired us to do that job, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to make sure that you make the best investment that you could possibly make. The current environment, you know, we've never had anything like this ever in the history that we know. The real estate agencies are closed. You cannot visit properties. That's near to impossible. It's basically illegal to even move your residence unless it's absolutely necessary, and you have to have 5 people or less with you in order to do that. So this is making it at a complete and absolute standstill. The professional bodies, the Chambre de Notaire, the notaires who are the real estate lawyers that manage all the transactions, their offices are closed. They are trying to organize themselves in order to be able to work remotely by phone or email, and to find solutions for being able to sign deeds, you know, at a distance. What's happening right now is that the signatures on properties, the transactions are actually being delayed and almost automatically being extended. This goes for loans. The banks are closed. It means that all the documentation that they have to put together is near to impossible, because Government agencies are closed. The syndic, the copropriété, the homeowner associations are closed. The Ministry of Justice, every tool they have, every resource they need is basically working either part-time or closed entirely, making it very difficult for the transactions. They're also having to install levels of security so that they can do these signatures long distance. You know, normally when you sign on a property, everyone sits around the table face to face. We look at all the documentation, we ask our questions, and this is just not possible right now. So we are at a standstill. If you have any questions for a notaire, if you do not have your own notaire, the phone number here on the screen is at least a way to have general questions answered. So you might want to make note of it. It's 338-9201-1012. And of course, it's going to cost you 40 cents a minute. That's just the way it is in France. So let's talk about what's happening in the market. Up until this moment, the real estate market, particularly in Paris, and I'm going to focus on Paris for this particular presentation because Paris is actually unique. The prices have been accelerating on an uphill climb since 1998. And it's been very, very dynamic in the last couple of years. In fact, in February, the report from the Chambre de Notaire was that Paris prices were up 7% over 1 year, which is very, very healthy. And, you know, that's because there's been a limited amount of supply and tremendous demand, and we've just seen prices go up and up. Here's a chart that lays out the last 10 years. And as you can see, now all of France has been on the uphill, but Paris has done even better than the rest of France, with an average square meter price of 10,600 euros. I want you to be cautious about looking at these price points because the reporting that's done reports sales that happened maybe up until February, but the negotiations actually happened months before that because it takes months for the transactions to take place. And there are an awful lot of other variables that actually reduce the price, such as the agency commission, any furnishings that are included in the price, and anything that would reduce the price in order to also reduce the notarial taxes and fees. So in general, I would guess that the real average in Paris is closer to 11,500 or even 12,000 euros a square meter. And that's what's happened up to this point. But here we are, we're in this crisis, a total shock to our systems, and all of our sales have frozen. The completion of a sale is going to take longer than we would have otherwise. We have several files right now that we know are being delayed 2, 3, could even be 4 months' time. So the question is, what's going to happen to prices during that time? Well, the demand for property in Paris has been strong for so many years, since 1998, that the Chambre de Notaire, they do not believe that this is going to affect prices in the long term. They believe that this is an interruption only in the short term, and that the attractiveness of real estate in general is linked to the ability to get financing. Low interest rates, which are about 1 to 1.5% right now, will continue in the coming months. This is the prediction. So as long as people can get financing at such a low rate, real estate will be attractive. The other question, however, is what is the evolution of household confidence? How are people going to feel about the future? This is what's going to drive the market. And will they have enough money to actually spend on real estate? Now, if we look at past crises like the Gulf War, the dot-com bubble, the stock market crash of 2008, we really can't compare this crisis with any of those. This is unprecedented. We have absolutely nothing that we can compare it to in order to extrapolate what we believe is going to happen. I will say, though, that with the stock market crash of 2008, prices, which had risen very sharply between 2000 and 2008, they did decline slightly between 2008 and 2009. In Paris, they only went flat. They never went down. And the following year, they spiked. They went up 23% in 2009. It bounced back. So I honestly believe that the current health crisis, that we're going to bounce back even swifter. Again, it really depends on the financing, and it depends on income. If people's jobs come back, if they feel confident about it, I do believe that they'll want to, that their pent-up frustration will explode and they'll be back on the market. Now, our market of expats is very, very different from the French market. The French market is about 90% of the market. The foreign market is only about 10%. The American market is really different because I see that they are feeling very frustrated, that they're going to want to make a move. I also know that if Donald Trump is reelected, I believe we're going to see an even bigger influx of Americans moving to France. And the question will be whether they have the finances to do it or not. If they can get financing here, if the interest rates stay low, if the rate of exchange stays good because the dollar is really strong, then that will contribute to a pretty successful market from our perspective. So, no one really knows the answer. I certainly don't know the answer. I'm guessing only from what I've seen in the past and how I think people will feel optimistic once this lets up. I don't think it will be a flood. I think that we're going to put our toes in the water and venture in very slowly as the confinement is lifted. Little by little, we're going to tread back until it feels nice and safe. But I really don't see prices going down, maybe soft for a while, and then to be strong again. So my point is, I think it's a really good time to get into the market and to buy. And I'd like to end with a couple of notes. One is that I have a recommendation from Brian Dunhill of Dunhill Financial. He's an excellent financial advisor. And he made a note this past week that if you have a mortgage in France and you're thinking of paying a lump sum off your mortgage, that it might not be a good idea to do this, that you could get punished by the IRS. And if you want more information, you might want to make note of his phone or his email to get in touch with him. I'm sure he'll be happy to be helpful to you. And I'd like to also talk about our own community. I write 3 newsletters a week: the Parley Paris, Parley Nice, and French Property Insider. So if you're not subscribed to that, just visit our website and you can subscribe. You can see us on House Hunters TV, House Hunters International. I've got 4 shows that I've filmed that have not yet been aired, so stay tuned. We're also talking about doing some virtual shows using Zoom. And we do a monthly coffee gathering on the 2nd Tuesday of every month. We unfortunately had to cancel this last one in April, and we're going to be doing the next one this coming May 12th on Zoom, so stay tuned for that. And now here's your opportunity to ask me anything. And as long as I can find my chat box, I can see it.
Again, if you go to the top of the screen, Adrian, there should be like a drop down.
I've got it. I've got it.
Great.
I've got it. Okay, so I'm ready for questions. Okay, so Matt Christensen wants to know, Given the lack of vaccine any earlier than next year, what about all the empty investment properties whose owners who have lost? That's a very good question. Again, I think what's going to happen is that people are going to come back slowly but surely. Even after 9/11, there was a lull, a travel lull, but it was about a year later we saw people coming back. This is Paris. Paris is the most touristed city in the world, and I don't think it will stay that way forever, but sure, you're going to have to bite your bullet, and I don't know what to tell you. We're all doing that. Anyone with investment properties, that's for sure. Okay, I'll take another question. Yes, we can help with rentals. We represent a variety of properties, but they are what we consider long-term rentals, meaning that they are anywhere from 1 month onward. Let me explain the rental laws that exist in Paris. First of all, this applies to cities of 200,000 or more. Paris is the only city that is fully enforcing these laws. Nice is enforcing them to a point, but Paris is enforcing them fully. And the way it goes is this. If it is a primary residence, you can rent up to 4 months a year short term. If it is a secondary residence, then you can rent either on a 1-year long-term lease, meaning that you can't use it at all if you've got a tenant in it with a 1-year lease, or you can rent it on a mobility lease, which is 1 month to 10 months, but the person who's renting must be there on business or education. So that doesn't really leave a lot of flexibility, unfortunately. Let me see what else. US and French tax implications of owning a property in Paris. Oh, that's a very big subject, and I'm certainly not a tax expert. I think this is more of a question for Brian Dunhill. You pay French property taxes to the French government, of course, which are very, very low, 0.001% approximately. If it's a French rental property, then you're supposed to report your earnings in France and pay your tax on your earnings in France, not in the US. Okay, next question. Are your predictions for the Nice Riviera the same for the Paris market? Oh, of course. I think Nice is a slightly different situation because Nice, the prices have been soft for a very long time. The prices in Nice have stayed pretty stable for the last 10 years. And that's because unemployment in the Nice area has been higher. So Paris is less of a risk in terms of investment, but it's twice the price of Nice. Nice is half the price of Paris. So it depends on how much money you have and where you want to be. I love Nice. I'm very happy to have a property there, and I don't see anything wrong with it at all. Okay, next question. Do you see people, either French or foreign, who are considering moving out of cities, Paris, and therefore will increase the search competition of properties in the countryside, especially Provence? That's a good question. The French may want to move outside of Paris, especially now that we've discovered that we can work and live virtually easier. So the cities aren't quite as necessary. I don't think that's true for foreign buyers, however. On a happier note, what is your favorite arrondissement for Americans as an investment for themselves? Wow. I live in the 3rd. I love the Marais. That does not mean that I think it's the end all. Every neighborhood is different. Everyone I know loves where they live. In terms of investment, you can get a better appreciation in some of the outer districts than you can in the central Paris, but you can get a better rent in central Paris than you can in the outer districts. So it's kind of a wash. Okay, next question. Does the seller pay a commission to both agents, or do your buyers pay a commission? What is the typical percentage? That is a multifaceted question, because either the seller or the buyer pays the agency commission, which is built into the selling price of the property. And that is dictated by the mandate between the seller and his agency. We charge separate fees for our work, which are over and above the agency fees, unless we have the opportunity to share the agency fees, which never happens in Paris and can happen in other parts of France. Do you think the crisis will translate to a recalibration of pricing in the 20 districts? I'm not sure I understand the question. If they mean that price of property will become more equalized over the districts. I know that the socialist government would really like that to happen. I don't think it's realistic or practical. And that would, I mean, their central Paris is always going to be more valuable on a per square meter basis than the outer districts. I don't ever see that happening. Let's see, did I miss any other questions? What are the most up and coming cities outside of Paris that are the most affordable? Wow. Well, I must admit, I'm rather partial to Nice, particularly for our clients. I like the fact that it has a very thriving American community, and I think that's very important. I like the fact that it has an international airport. I think that's very important, so that you can travel all over the world easily, quickly, and inexpensively. I like that it has access to Italy and Corsica and all of France with excellent transportation, that you don't need a car. And some of the other cities that are seeing some big increases, like Lyon and Bordeaux, are more for the French than they are for the foreign expat group. For Americans, I think the two hotspots are the Riviera and Paris. We have clients who are going to Strasbourg, Marseille, because again, you've got an international airport, but otherwise, I think these are the hotspots for our market, at least. Okay, another question. In our local real estate market in the US, it is essential to come to the table pre-approved for a mortgage. Yes, mortgage. It is essential to come to the table with a pre-approval, or at least a decision in principle for a mortgage. Mortgages are very difficult to obtain for the American buyer at this time, thanks to FATCA. There are very few banks willing to lend to Americans. They don't trust self-employed people. They like to see salaried people. They don't want to lend to people over the age of 60, so it's not easy, but we do have a really good mortgage broker. We have good relationships with the banks, and we have been able to get financing for our clients. So let's see. What can one do now to prepare to buy while things are closed down? Talk to me. Schedule a consultation with me. We will create a strategy and a plan, and we can at least start to look at what's on the market now. But we can't really do much till May 11th. But I do think it's good to prepare and to get your financing ducks in a row and talk to a mortgage broker. That's for sure. Okay, here's another one. As of May 1st, I will only own property in Paris. Does that make my apartment a primary residence, or do I need French residency, carte de séjour? And you will need to have some sort of French residency in order to call that a primary residence. All you need to do is get a visa. So I don't think it's difficult, and I do think you should do that. Yes, this is a good time to buy, Sue. I think this is a really good time to buy, but expect your transaction to be delayed. Are Paris real estate prices lower if you pay with cash versus a mortgage? Nope, they are not. the sellers are morally obligated to accept asking price. So if there are a lot of people lined up to buy your property, the one that you love, then you want to offer asking price and it's yours. There are no bidding wars and no, there's no deals. But if you come in with cash, you have more clout. So if there are two of you vying for the same property and you've both offered asking price and you have cash and your opponent is with a mortgage, then you're more likely to get approval. What are your options if you want to live in Paris part-time? Will there be more room to negotiate a monthly rent? There's just simply not a lot of negotiation because there's not a lot of property on the market. Rental properties can get rented in a matter of minutes. So you really don't have a lot of negotiating power. And the shorter your stay, the less negotiating power you have. Any other questions? Okay, here we've got, since it's the seller agency and no MLS, how do you show buyers properties? What we do is we work with agencies, agents, and individual owners to set up appointments and show the properties. So we act as a liaison. We do the legwork. We negotiate on your behalf. We do absolutely everything you need us to do as to liaise between you and the seller. And that has to do with counseling you, advising you, ensuring that you don't make mistakes. And it means you don't have to have documents translated because we're going to do all the due diligence on all the paperwork. And just translating documents is expensive. So what if you love Paris, but you don't have a big budget to buy an apartment? Are there any deals in outer districts? You can certainly spend a lot less if you go outside of the city. Outside of the 20 districts is much more affordable, and I would highly recommend considering that for sure. Any other questions? How do you find properties without an MLS? Takes a lot of research, a lot of time and research. That's why we exist. Well, I want to thank everyone for being here. Andrew, can we unmic everyone?
It's top floor too. It means love over time.
There you go, he's unmuted.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
everyone,
Thank you.
for being
Solid
here.
there. Where are you
And
looking?
just, you know, if you have any other questions, please feel free to email us.
Oh, yeah.
If you turn on your videos, I can say hello to you personally.
Every property
Bye,
is
Barb.
Videos won't turn on.
Your video won't turn on.
Oh,
Get mine on.
I see you.
I think,
Thank you so much,
I think
Adrian.
Mike has to turn them on.
Thank you all for coming. I hope it was helpful.
There we go.
Hello, thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Adrian.
Have any answers?
Adrian, I don't know how to do the video.
So thank you, everybody, who came on, and keep your eye on the Weiss website.
Okay, yes, agreed. Thank you. Thank you, Jill. Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you.
Bye.
No problem.
Thank you, Adrian.
Bye.
Thanks, Adrian.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.